Hi, we're Andie and Ryan, and welcome to another episode of Under the Influence. Today we are covering one of my favorite topics, foodie eats, and specifically our gastronomic adventures in Singapore. So let's get into it. So for those of you who've either traveled to Singapore or maybe read about it, you'll know that it is a multicultural, multi-ethnic society, mainly due to its historical roots as a trading port. And so people came from all over the region to make their fortunes and eventually settled in Singapore, creating what is commonly now grouped as four major ethnic groups, and this is really broadly speaking. So that would be the Malays, the Chinese, the Indian, and what we call others, which primarily comprises of people who are of the European descent. So for this video, we wanted to take you under the influence of this historical melting pot and take you on a whistle-stop tour of our foodie adventures across each of these major ethnic groups. So without further ado, let's kick off with our Malay food adventures. Okay, so a disclaimer before we start. Eating is a national pastime in Singapore, and people get deeply passionate about their must-try foodie spots. There are literally thousands of blogs and articles and videos that you can find out there, so it's just impossible for us to cover everything in our little video series. So we wanted to just share our experiences in being deliberate in trying a little bit of something from each of the major ethnic groups, just to taste the cultural diversity, which is the Singaporean cuisine. And so for the Malay food, I had a craving for nasi lemak. From the restaurant, crave nasi lemak. See what I did there? So yeah. So I just want to take you through our experience. So firstly, nasi lemak is a quintessentially iconic Malay dish, which is a fragrant rice that's been cooked in coconut milk and pandan leaf. So that's the nasi element, which is rice, and lemak, which means fat. And so you've got this really fragrant, unctuous rice, and it's got lots of different types of toppings, usually something like a fried chicken, a fried piece of fish, and of course, the unmistakable sambal chili sauce that goes with everything. We went to Crave, which is a series of outlets which was founded in conjunction with the owner from this really famous Adam Road Nasi Lemak by Selera Rasa. And so they've expanded across the island with lots of outlets. We went to the outlet at Tanjong Pagar, which was really easy and accessible for us. You could pick from a selection of different menu items from the self-service kiosk and opt to eat in or take away. And you could easily get something for under 10 Singapore dollars, which was really quite filling. I opted to take ours back to enjoy in the hotel room. And I had the option which had a fried chicken wing, a fried fish cutlet, and a potato burger, which is like a fried potato cutlet. The standout for sure is the rice. It's super fragrant. It's not mushy. Each grain of rice was like fluffy and it didn't stick together. The chicken was crispy, and when you add that sambal sauce on top, it just made it heavenly. So for that alone, I would definitely recommend that. But on top of that, the fact that it is easily accessible with so many outlets all over Singapore, and the fact that the dish is just iconic and representative of the multitude of dishes you could get in the Malay food cuisine, I would say definitely go and try it. So I will make sure I will link to their website in the link below.
So the next ethnicity we tried was Indian, and we went to Sami's Curry House. And Sami's is hands down my favorite restaurant in all of Singapore. I've been there a few times, so I've got replication of my results.
Yep.
And I love it because it's got history, it's family run, and it's unpretentious. You don't go there for the decor, you go there for the food. And the must-have dish is the fish head curry. The fish head comes out in a big boiling pot, tomato broth, rich, fragrant, spicy, to give enough heat without going overboard. And the other dishes are great too. So you've got punchy chicken tikka, you've got creamy paneer, you've got the biryani rice, all the condiments, and you deck them all out on a banana leaf. And it just looks lovely. Very traditional and very, very tasty. One word of warning, however, is the bones in the fish head curry.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
You've just got to pick your way through those, but it is well worth it.
So we went to the Sammy's, which was the OG outlet at Dempsey, and it's been there since the 70s. And according to my mum, she used to bring me there ever since I was baby. So, you know, I'm a little bit biased. I've got fond memories of it. But if you want to talk about a traditional Indian food experience with the banana leaf, we definitely recommend going there. I'll put the link to their website below. Okay, we're on to the next one, which is Chinese food. And for Chinese food, we picked zi cha, which the word zi cha is a Hokkien term meaning to cook, zi, and cha, which is to fry. And it's a term used to describe a quintessentially Singaporean food experience, which is a sort of non-pretentious food outlet where you would go for home-style Chinese cooking, which is made to order. And the general experience that you would have at a zi cha restaurant and the dishes you would expect are the ones that kind of go in and out real quick in like this fiery wok with the wok hay. For those who know what that is, it's the breath of the wok. So you would have this beautiful kind of charred taste to a lot of your stir-fried dishes. So when we had the chance to catch up with some friends, we wanted to head to a famous zi cha restaurant, and we picked King and Key, which is one of the more popular ones in Singapore. And I'll make sure to link their website in the description below. So this was your first time actually going to a zi cha restaurant. It was a bit chaotic. How did you find it?
It reminded me of being at a yum-cha, actually. Instead of being inside, you're outside in the warm evening. And it was chaotic. It was kind of wild, noisy, families everywhere. I love the round tables. You know, everyone could chat over their meal. And it was fun. The service was friendly. You know, they had a laugh with their guests as well. It was a really good time.
I know. And it's one of those where, as you can tell from the footage, it's families galore. It's very popular with the locals. So when we were there, we ordered a few of their signature dishes. So the first was their moonlight hor fun, which is called that because you've got this raw egg on top of this piping hot rice noodles, flat rice noodles. And as you stir it through, it kind of makes a bit of a creamy sauce. The coffee pork ribs, which is another Singaporean dish, which is these sort of succulent pieces of pork rib, boneless, which is sweet and rich and in kind of like a caramelly coffee sauce, a marinade. We also had the crab with vermicelli and like a seafood sauce. Most people would tend to go for the Singaporean chili crab, which is another dish that you can easily get there. But my favourite's the clay pot pork livers. It's a bit controversial. I suppose it's a bit like a Australian steak and kidney pie, but it's these sort of succulent pieces of pork liver that you cook in a really hot clay pot, and this thick meat sauce that you'll be able to pour over anything and just kind of drink that of it. We also had these salted egg yolk fried calamari, which were, I think, was your favourite dish of the evening. What do you think?
It certainly was my favourite dish of the evening, and probably the most Western too, to be fair. It reminded me of salt and pepper squid back home, crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside, but coated with that creamy duck egg yolk, which made it unmistakably Singaporean. And it tasted a little bit like Irvin's famous chips. And just like Irvin's, they're dangerously addictive. Which is a handy segue to our final ethnicity in this video, which is Eurasian, or at least European-inspired food. And I've been wanting to try Roti John for the longest time. And on this trip, I finally got my chance at Prata Alley in the Alexandra district. Now, for those who aren't aware, a Roti John is basically a toasted egg sandwich on a baguette-style loaf, usually topped with things like mutton, onion, and cheese. Now, if you're not vegan, definitely go for the cheese because it's just not the same without it. Now, the story goes that Roti John was invented by a local hawker to appeal to his English clientele. Now, I don't know if that story is true or not, but this shade seeker loved it. It was tasty, carby, salty, you name it. And it was big too. And at $7.50 a pop, I recommend it as a breakfast that will keep you going throughout the day. Now, Prata Alley offers more than just the Roti John, of course. And Andie, you had the Roti Prata.
That's right.
What did you think of that?
Oh, beautiful, flaky, crispy. It's kind of a quintessential Indian roti where it's handmade and it's seared, and you can tell, and they've crushed it up so that there's lots of flaky, unctuous bits that you dip into the curry sauce. So it was amazing.
Okay, with our bellies full, my next craving was for a Eurasian beverage.
I hope you enjoyed our whistle-stop tour foodie adventure in Singapore. If you like to see more of this, please make sure to subscribe and like.